Welcome. The Rob Brown Show is live. It is Wednesday, August 25th, 2021, and it is, as always, great to be with you one more time. Again, I am Rob Brown. The pleasure exclusively mine. Welcome in. Great to have you along for the ride. Appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us today directly across the glass from me, both literally and metaphorically, because there's glass right there. He is the great one, Colonel Grudge, hashtag Dad Kicks, the alpha and the omega of ESPN Upstate. He is the pinnacle of professionalism. He is Lonzo, the dystopian nightmare.
You spelled it wrong. I fixed it, though.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Respect.
It makes more sense now to me anyway.
Go to the stream, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or search The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. If you have one of them there smart TVs, then you can put the YouTube app right there.
If you've ever wondered, what does the best sports show in South Carolina, what do those guys look like?
Well,
there you go. It's right there.
Not just dashingly good looking, but now we can be dashingly good looking right there in your living room, office, waiting room, whatever. Go to YouTube, search The Rob Brown Show, and you will see Zoe and I live and in living color right to your television. You can listen to the show, and if you join us on the stream, it's kind of like a behind the scenes tour in that you get to talk with us off the air as well. We have a lot of conversations that take place off the air that we wouldn't necessarily bring onto the air. Sometimes we do, but we talk off the air about who knows what, and you can jump in. In fact, most of the time, the stuff we talk about off the air, most of the time is stuff that is brought up by the folks that are in the chat. So join us, facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or by searching The Rob Brown Show on YouTube. And if you come at us in any of those directions, you can watch behind the scenes. Plus, make sure you are tweeting us. Make sure that you are Facebooking us at those above mentioned or previously mentioned spots. Make sure that you are tweeting me at The Rob Brown Show, Lonzo at Lonzo on Word, and everybody at the station at at twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, at ESPN Upstate on the Twitter device. All the different ways for you to get in touch with us on the radio broadcast today. Coming up today at 1:20 p.m., we are going to be joined by head coach of your Greenville Triumph, Coach John Harkes. Let's just say the struggle has been real for the Triumph the last couple of weeks. Last W coming all the way back on the 4th of July. So the Triumph looking to right the ship, and John Harkes is the man in charge of that endeavor. We saw some good things the last two matches. It just got a little squirrely at the end, and we are going to talk to John Harkes coming up at 1:20 this afternoon to find out where the Triumph go from here. They are on the road this weekend, and we'll get into all of that. Trevor Lawrence has been named. Actually, you know what? Lunch breakdown. I guess I should just start with that, shouldn't I?
Let's do lunch.
This is a very nutritious lunch. All the food groups are represented.
You guys are here.
What in the wide world of sports is going on here?
It is the lunch breakdown of 3 things you have to know before you go start talking sports with your friends, family, co-workers, the dog, whoever you spend your lunch break with. We are here to tell you the scuttlebutt so that you don't feel left out, ladies and gentlemen. And we start with item numero uno. Down to Jacksonville, Florida, the armpit of the Sunshine State we go. The Jacksonville Jaguars have officially named Trevor Lawrence as the Week 1 starter against the Houston Texans. Herb announced that just a few minutes ago in a news conference. The backup job. Break the glass. That is technically breaking news, as it has just been broken. Breaking news brought to you by our friends at BetQL. Get smarter and beat the books. Get the inside info sportsbooks don't want you to have. Visit BetQL.com or get the BetQL app today. Press conference earlier this morning held by Urban Meyer, and he announced that the backup job remains open, but that Trevor will be the starter. He said, quote, "My respect for Gardner Minshew as a Warrior is well documented. CJ Beathard came in 2 weeks in a row and played well." The Jaguars, of course, selecting Trevor Lawrence with the first overall pick of the last draft. 40 games with 36 starts at Clemson, 34-2. The third best winning percentage by a starting quarterback with at least 30 starts in college football history. Finished his career undefeated as a starter in regular season play and did not lose a regular season game at either the high school or collegiate levels. And now will get his opportunity to be the man. Of course, he showed some flash. 15 snaps, 6 of 9 against the Cleveland Browns. His offense gave him a little bit of time in that one, and he was able to put the cannon on display. Against the Saints, however, the defense jumped all over the Jags from the get. 2 first quarter Jameis Winston touchdown passes. The Jags reserves did not come back in the fourth quarter, led by CJ Beathard. But Trevor was okay. He was okay in that one. Again, I told you going into that one, I thought it was going to be a much tougher challenge than the Cleveland Browns. I thought it would be a much tougher challenge than the Brownies, and it was. But apparently, he did enough, according to Herb, to make his way into the QB1 spot. Item numero dos on the lunch breakdown. We have learned earlier today that MLB has decided to try to solve the sticky stuff debate between them and the pitchers. They have tried to solve the sticky stuff debate, and in order to try to make everybody happy, what they have decided to do is to start working with manufacturers to create a baseball that is already sticky stuffed. They are trying to come up with a baseball that will be, quote, pre-tacked. And they are already handing those baseballs out to MLB players to solicit feedback. This represents an early step in potentially developing a new baseball to address concerns from pitchers about grip and consistency. Rich Hill confirmed that the New York Mets pitching staff reviewed prototypes about a week and a half ago. LA Dodgers pitchers were also shown the baseballs while playing in New York, and the San Francisco Giants will receive them during their series against the Mets this week as well. Rich Hill said that, quote, "I think they're getting there, they're working on it, and I know they're going to come up, hopefully, with a good solution." Now, the current process is in its preliminary stages. Pre-tacked baseballs, or balls that are treated with a substance that gives them a slightly tacky feel for easier grip, have been a source of speculation and investigation, obviously, for several years by MLB. Now, Major League Baseball has been experimenting with sticky baseballs that could be introduced in conjunction with enforcement of foreign substances, which have been banned since at least 2016. They have game tested these balls in the Arizona Fall League. The league circulated something similar amongst Major League pitchers in spring training. Neither pitchers nor hitters were fans at the time, but the theory is that it's because pitchers were still using their own illicit substances, which would not have worked well on a ball that was already tacky. Of course, when MLB started checking pitchers earlier this year to open up the balls, which are now affectionately being referred to as cue balls by some of the pitchers, now they are talking about creating a ball that comes already tacky so that pitchers get more grip, but the substance can be controlled by Major League Baseball and get rid a little of the frustration. Japan's professional baseball league and the Korean baseball organization already use pre-tacked balls, and MLB officials have been in contact with both leagues to help develop a prototype. Some of those balls were used in the Olympics this year, and the American pitchers who played at the Olympics in Japan were even more excited about the pre-tacked ball than they were in times past. Twins pitcher Joe Ryan, who pitched for Team USA, said, quote, "It is, I can't say enough, the best baseball I've ever touched. We need this," end quote. Now, it probably won't be the exact same ball as they used in the Olympics, but it is at least a start.
Wow. So we can't stop you from cheating. So let us help you, I guess. It's kind of a cool idea. It does eliminate a lot of I don't want to say underhandedness, I guess, by the pitchers. And now they can concentrate more on doing their job more so than trying to hide what they're doing. So maybe it makes pitching better. You think it does from a concentration standpoint? And you don't have to wash your hands like they had to do all the time. You don't have to stick your finger in your nose or your ear or down your pants or whatever it is where you got your stuff hidden.
Yeah, it's
we'll just make the game go faster because now they no longer have to do all that stuff to get the right texture. Well, if the ball already comes that way.
Let's call a spade here. If you stop checking, pitchers are going to go back to experimenting on something. Even if the ball's already pre-tacked, pitchers are going to go see if there's anything that they can use to add on to a pre-tacked ball to give it more tack and get more rotations per breaking ball, right?
Yeah, I was trying to go high road there. But
I know you are.
Yeah.
And I love that you have the optimism and faith in humanity that you do, Lonzo. I left that way in my past. Pitchers are going to do whatever they can do to try to figure out how to cheat this. All right, we know that. And if they can come up and they go, okay, with this new pre-tack ball, and then you add Vaseline mixed with dirt, and it gives it a little more spin. I don't know, whatever. Then they're going to do it.
Notice how Rob tried to make that sound like he made that up, but he already knew what Vaseline and dirt does.
Oh yeah, I had a buddy who pitched in high school who used Vaseline on the ball. Absolutely, Vaseline on the ball. You pick up a little dirt to rub it in, give it a little grit, gives it a bite. Yeah, absolutely. But you get the point. Even if the ball comes tacky, if they can find a way to add something to it, they're going to. But at least for a lot of pitchers, this will give them what they've asked for, right? Now you can say, okay, we gave you the tack back that you asked for. We gave you the tack back that you wanted. Stop cheating. We'll see if it works. All right. Let's do this. Item number 3 on the lunch breakdown, obviously, and this is going to shock no one, is the alliance that was announced yesterday between the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC. I'm going to do 2 things today. Number 1, I'm going to push item 3 to the next segment because I have a lot to talk about. We are going to ask some of the lingering questions that I got asked yesterday when we got off the air. We are going to look at the individual groups and entities that the alliance impacts, and we'll ask directly who benefits the most. We will talk about the fact that there's apparently nothing formal to this thing at all. We'll hear from some college football experts on it. And the second thing I'm going to do is try to stay on the clock today so that Lonzo can relax. Back after this on The Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate. Oh. All right, I'm going to go see if I can find some Tylenol.
I have something. But it's not. Come here.
You have it in here?
Yeah.
I know. I've got some extra strength Tylenol on the desk.
I have. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I have something. If it's no longer on your desk.
Okay.
ACC Commissioner James Phillips. Our discussions centered on the unprecedented environment in college athletics today and how best we together could address the challenges ahead, from the potential significant changes to the NCAA structure and governance and the implementation of name, image, and likeness.
Download the free Score app. Lightning fast update so you never miss a thing. Now the Score app is one of North America's
Yeah, you know, Steven, I had no idea about that. So it's not a surprise that I missed that question. There's I forget who on this day of history, someone had said that there was life on the moon, and then they were proved wrong that there was no life on the moon. And I'd never heard of that before.
Who wrote that?
I forget what it was. You know, that's so 25 minutes ago, the question was.
The world's top sales trainer in the world, ladies and
He
gentlemen.
could be. I don't know.
This video is closing, handling objections, and more. Just call us and leave us a voicemail, your email address, and we'll send you this amazing video for free. Call 800-500-8320.
I would like this amazing video. Let me call this address or send an email or whatever. No. I did say the sun ate the moon because I figured it was one of those hoaxes about an eclipse. I mean, that's the first thing that popped in my mind. You know, I'm picturing the witch doctor saying, I will cause the sun to eat the moon or the moon to eat the sun.
I don't know what inspired this comment, but I love it. Lonzo!
That's Vince says my name that way sometimes. So I think that's what it is. By the way, I appreciate everybody being over there and then coming over here. It's awesome.
The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Hello, nurse. Welcome back. The Rob Brown Show, the award-winning Rob Brown Show. So, here are some of the big talking points that came out of the Alliance yesterday. By the way, trivia question from last night, Lonzo. Let's see if you can nail it. Trivia question that came up last night when I was hosting trivia. As a nod to their extensive family tree in professional wrestling, what name was given to the WWE Alliance consisting of Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr.?
Legacy.
That is correct. That is exactly correct.
What if I got that wrong?
We would needed to have a conversation after the show. 8 teams played last night. 1 team got it right. 1. I was very disappointed. All right. So, the Alliance formed yesterday. And the Alliance, the ACC, the Big 12, the Pac-10, did a little news conference. And then, when they started asking what type of terms were in the contract of the Alliance, George Kliavkoff said, quote, there's an agreement amongst 3 gentlemen and there doesn't need to be a contract, end quote. Then Kevin Warren, Big Ten commissioner, said, and I quote, Even though I'm a lawyer, one of my favorite law professors at Notre Dame said, if you have to go back and look at a contract you signed, you probably entered into a deal with the wrong parties. What that says is that are contracts important? Absolutely. They are critically important. But with where we are in college athletics right now, what we really need is things to be stable. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. We have many issues we need to deal with. We just felt like we could look each other in the eye, shake each other's hand, and say we have a fiduciary responsibility to the past student athletes, present student athletes, and future student athletes to be able to do something that is right for once. Gosh, Kevin, if you were trying to, what was that word you used? Stable? If you were trying to stabilize a business relationship, Lonzo, can you think of any tool traditionally used between multiple entities entering into a business transaction that might be used to stabilize that relationship? Can you think of anything?
Contract?
My goodness. Now, as I got asked yesterday evening when I was having this conversation with a couple of college football amigos, I don't know what would go in that contract, to tell you the truth, because I don't know really what kind of terms these three gentlemen discussed. And of course, they're wide legal teams. I don't know what they discussed. So I don't know what kind of terms I put in the contract because I don't know what kind of terms they all agreed on together. But that is because there's not a contract. It's just weird to me.
It's a gentleman's agreement.
And that's fine for like your fantasy football league, right? If if Lonzo and I go down and we sit at the bar, coffee bar. I don't drink coffee.
I don't drink
doesn't have to
coffee
be there,
either.
yeah.
So it's weird.
But if Lonzo and I are sitting in our office, I don't know why we had to go somewhere for this.
Well,
But
we could go like get some wings. We're going to get some wings.
if Lonzo and I are sitting there having some wings, and we go, all right, here's the deal. So from this point forward, you do all the commercials and I'll do all the imaging. So you'll do that half and I'll do this half. And we go, cool. Gentlemen's agreement. We shake hands. Now, I would do that with Lonzo because I trust Lonzo. But I can tell you I've worked with pretty much everybody else I've ever worked with in radio that if we came to that agreement, I would write it down.
If you seal a deal with barbecue sauce, that's a deal. Because chances are we have some on our fingers if we're at a wings place.
True. Nah, I'm not a big barbecue wing. I mean, it's not bad. I like barbecue wings.
I like
I'm a hot
rubbed
wing
better,
guy, though.
but I like rubbed.
Oh,
as
no.
a-
You like
as
dry
opposed-
rub? No, give me the
Yeah, I
sauce.
like dry
Give me the
rub.
sauce. Give me the sauce, but not barbecue sauce. Give me wing sauce. I want traditional hot wings, man. If we were to come up with that agreement and have that gentleman's agreement, that's one thing. But I can tell you, I've worked with pretty much everybody else I've worked with. That if I came up with a deal like that, I would write it down and I would make sure the boss knows what that deal is. Because if the boss just came to me and Lonzo and said, you guys are responsible for X amount of commercials and Y amount of imaging, get it done, and that was it. And then we agreed that I'll do the commercials and he'll do the imaging. And then it's time to go to the boss and I've done the imaging and he didn't do the commercials. And the boss goes, where the hell are the commercials? And I say, he said he was going to do them and he didn't. The boss is going to say, I told you both to get them done and here's the fight. Now, there's no contract in place between these three conferences. They have a gentleman's agreement, which again, I'm a man. I respect it. My old man used to tell me nothing in the world should be more valuable to you than your word and your name, right? You say you're going to do it, you do it. When it's time for these three teams to genuinely start working together, when it's time for these three conferences to genuinely start putting in effort to combat the Southeastern Conference, who's going to be the first to turn? Because there's nothing to prevent them from it. And on top of that, what happens, Lonzo, the first time these three guys kick open the bar, sit down across the table from the SEC, the SEC says, we want this. These three guys must be in lockstep together. These three conferences must be in lockstep together in order to be able to vote in enough power to overcome the SEC or at least slow them down. And one of them decides, yeah, no, I don't think that's good enough for me. That's not going to work for me. And decides to step out. Well, now the whole thing blew up. I don't know. It's just weird that there's nothing formal about this. I went into the show yesterday saying I thought that yesterday afternoon might very well be a defining day in college football. And I went to bed last night thinking, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. I thought yesterday's announcement of this alliance was going to be a game changer. I went to bed last night, Lonzo, looking at the no contract story and the questions and going, what got accomplished here? They all vowed to be on the same page as far as responsibility to student athletes and maybe some scheduling. And that's all well and good, but what did you accomplish yesterday? If you're the SEC, are you nervous about this right now?
It's kind of a bluff. It's like, hey, we see what you're doing, but we're over here. We like this. If you come at us, we're together. Because you're right. What actually did they do? What actually are they doing? I don't know.
I really don't. Texter says, ESPN, I deal with contracts daily, and it is all caps. Absolutely absurd. Back to regular. For men in positions this high to say that they don't need something in writing. Yeah. 100% correct. I again, I'm nowhere near the power that Phillips and Warren and Kliavkoff and the rest of these guys are in. Nowhere near the level of power they're in. And I'll tell you straight up, man. If I work to deal out with somebody that's worth 0.01% of the value of what this deal would be worth financially if we ran all the numbers, you're damn right I'm writing it down. You're damn right I'm getting a lawyer involved. It's nuts. Texter says a handshake doesn't mean as much as it used to. That's for sure. This amounts to smoke and mirrors as soon as they said it wasn't in writing. I got the same feeling. I think a handshake still means something to a lot of people. But I absolutely do think that this came across yesterday as maybe just a warning shot to the SEC. Like, hey, don't make us do this. Like, we will, but don't make us do this. Quick break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, how does this benefit the ACC primarily? How does this benefit the conference that your Clemson Tigers are in? I don't know that it does as much as I thought it might up front. Talk about that next. I'm Rob. He's Lonzo. This is ESPN Upstate. On the screen, it says, Ayo.
No.
Ayo.
See, I more see it as A-O,
Let's go.
which is the thing that you say all the time. So, it's very, very fitting.
Hey, oh, let's go.
Aside from Blitzkrieg Bop, do you know any other of the lyrics to that song? Because I don't. I know the song lasts like a minute and a half or something like that. But yeah,
folks a straight fact. I've been fighting the timeshare giants ever since, but no one knows this industry better than me and my team. Today we have 383 employees and have saved our clients an average of $65,000 in lifetime payments. Imagine putting those timeshare dollars back in your pocket. If you were told in a timeshare presentation that this was available today and today only, the timeshare was a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up. Call my office now. I guarantee you, we take you as a client, we will cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free information kit. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454. 800-613-5454.
I hate that I'm not sure what the What If episode today is about, but I don't want to look it up because I don't want to get spoiled.
Yeah.
So I'll find out when I get home. Did you watch NXT?
No, I did not. I've got it recorded at the house. I'll watch it. Actually, I should have watched it this morning.
Let's try a smoky mezcal from mind-blowing margaritas. Make your end of summer get-togethers even better with a wondrous selection of expert guides and totally
How was it?
total wine and more. Drink responsibly.
You can say good or bad. It's not going to impact whether I watch it or not.
Maybe this means I'm indifferent. I'm not sure if it was good or bad,
Fair.
which, by the way, is I'm really not sure if it was good or bad.
You're carrying Cross. Do you want to go back down to NXT?
Absolutely. As long as Scarlett's there.
Sports talk show in the States.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's ESPN Upstate. Robin Lonzo with you. So, by the way, you got a couple of texters asking some questions. One texter says, what do you think about the Steelers this year? That's Nathan. Nathan, I will get to that. We'll do some NFL talk coming up in the next hour of the show. Israel Monroy says, thoughts on the Dutch Fork situation. I thought I saw something about that earlier today. A Lexington Richland 5 football player died after collapsing on the field. School district leaders released a statement shortly before 11 o'clock p.m. last evening saying that the student collapsed Tuesday during football practice. The district shared no more details out of respect for the family and the student. Counselors and district support will be available to students over the next few days. I don't know anything about what's going on. I'm not 100% sure. We will see. I will see if I can reach out to Cole Bryson, who is the voice of Burns. He's kind of our high school expert. And I'll see if I can get in touch with Kevin and John from Moving the Chains, who join us here on the Rob Brown Show every Friday, to see if there is any information that we can get. But it doesn't look like there's a lot available through the school. So we'll circle back around to that later on in the show. So I got the question yesterday after the show was over, because the College Football Alliance between the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 was, I would say it was the story of the day. It is the story of the week in college football. Despite the fact that we have college football this weekend, it is week 0, question mark, of college football.
Yeah, I went to look up the schedule and I couldn't find it. I need to look again because my wife was like, "You said college football's on this weekend. Who all's on?" And I only know of one game because we're carrying it.
Nebraska, Illinois play at 12:30 our time, I believe. Maybe 1:30.
I believe you're correct.
Nebraska, Illinois, I know is in the early portion of the day. 1 o'clock our time is actual kickoff. We'll have coverage at 12:30. UConn at Fresno State at 2 o'clock. Hawaii taking on UCLA. The Bruins at 3:30. Texas El Paso is at New Mexico State at 9:30, and then Southern Utah takes on San Jose State at 10 p.m. Y'all.
Is this a good appetizer before the main meal, or
That's
kind of,
all right.
or is it like
That's all right.
beanie weenies and cheese on crackers?
I think
I don't know.
Nebraska, Illinois could be a good game. Nebraska, Illinois could be a good game. And the Vegas bettors believe it's going to be a good game. That game open, I want to say that game open with a line of like, I want to say it was like -10, -9. and it's moved back down. Let me see. Let me pull up the line or as it stands right now. Yeah, Nebraska opened at, I want to say like minus 10.5, and it's moved back down to minus 7. So it's a 1 touchdown game. So that's not a bad start. Hawaii UCLA could be fun. I don't know what Hawaii's going to put on the table, but UCLA wants to make a run this year at the Pac-12. So that could be, it's okay. Then we got on what? We got that Saturday, next Wednesday, UAB and Jacksonville State. Then Thursday night next week. Look at the slate Thursday night, Lonzo. That's next Thursday.
Yeah, I was looking
Look
at
at
that. Well, there's one certain game on Thursday that's interesting to me.
Yeah, of course, that would be number 4, the Ohio State University taking on Minnesota. The Golden Gophers of Minnesota in their bigs.
Can't wait to see a new starting quarterback, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Ohio State, Minnesota is at 8 o'clock next Thursday. Citadel's at Coastal Carolina at 7 o'clock. Can't wait. Number 24, Utah, Weber State is going to come visit them. South Florida is at NC State. That could be fun. Diesel and I will be up in Charlotte, North Carolina next Thursday for ECU Appalachian State. What else we got? Yeah, some good ones. There's some good ones on there. All right, but this is blah, 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 blah. There's the Rails, Lonzo, and then this is us not on them. So somebody asked me yesterday, how does this benefit the Atlantic Coast Conference? And the big thing that I initially thought about is that seems to be kind of an ambiguous answer at this point in time, right? What is the big benefit that you would initially think is in play for the conferences that are involved in this? Television revenue, right? You're trying to create more intrigue, more interest to generate television revenue. But see, here's the thing. The ACC could add games between themselves and the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, but there's no direct path to adding more revenue. The league is stuck in their TV deal with ESPN. You know how long the ACC network deal is until, Lonzo? You know when the first year the ACC could get out of it without being forced to pay buku dinero would be?
2024.
36.
36.
2036 runs the ACC network. The league is stuck in a lopsided TV deal with ESPN through 2036.
The majority of the games will be played on the O Show.
They might be now if they tick off ESPN enough with this. That's why yesterday, we talked a little bit about it. That's why yesterday, and we were kind of joking, but we kind of weren't. That's why the big joke yesterday was that the Atlantic Coast Conference was kind of serving as ESPN's man on the inside, right? Kind of serving as ESPN's man on the inside, kind of serving as ESPN's guy who was in on the meetings that could call ESPN after it was over and say, here's what the Pac-12 and the Big Ten are talking about doing today. Because nobody can really see where there's any TV money coming out of this. Now, this does bode well for the league in one sense. Jim Phillips apparently had been pushing really hard to be included in this alliance. The ACC has been aiming for a Comcast deal for the ACC network, which would be the best chance for an immediate revenue boost early in Phillips' careers to get the ACC network on Comcast. And what's interesting about this, Diesel, sorry, Lonzo, don't know where the hell that came from. Oh, I do know, because I'm looking down on our notes for the Duke's Bowl next Thursday that I tried to get me and Diesel press passes to. Because I want to watch Diesel watch an App State game.
And apparently all producers look alike.
I mean, you're both, you both wear Schmedium t-shirts. You're both into CrossFit.
anyone on the stream knows that's not true.
So, what's interesting, Lonzo, is that about 2 nights ago, there was a little mistake. The ACC network, and the ACC, which is owned and produced by ESPN, but obviously could make its way onto any of the service providers. They're trying to get onto Comcast. And this really intrigued me because late last week, Zoe, I panicked, almost panicked. I'm like, I'm doing the right thing this time, right? Right? Some Comcast providers who were scrolling around their channel selection were reportedly able to find the ACC network on Comcast. Now, it was an error. It was a mistake, but it led a lot of people to believe that it meant that that deal was on the way through. The ACC network appeared on Comcast. It was apparently an operational error on the part of ESPN in inadvertently putting it on an overflow channel. Comcast and Disney continue to negotiate a new contract, which is expected to include the ACC network. On August 22nd, so 3 days ago, if you switch to channel 1322 on Comcast, you could find the ACC network. The thought is that the ACC is looking at moving to Comcast, and this pretty much showed that that deal was almost done. If this alliance can go to, and in some ways Disney, being pushed by the ACC, can go to Comcast and say, hey, we're boosting our scheduling because now we're going to have some built-in natural rivalries with the Big 12, scratch that, Big 10, and the Pac-12, then they would be able to push the move to Comcast for the ACC net through, and there's a big boost of television revenue to the ACC. So that seems to be the big thought behind this, right? That seems to be the big thought behind this. That would be the reason the ACC is in on this, because they're not going to get a huge boost in revenue, adding more revenue, but they will get this new contract for distribution, not the ACC network, but for distribution of the ACC network through Comcast. And Comcast being able to add Pac-12 and Big 10 matchups in the ACC onto that channel may fork over more money for distribution, if not an increase in network footprint, etc., which is owned by Disney ESPN through 2036. So that appears to be why the ACC, why Jim Phillips was so aggressive in ensuring that the ACC was part of this alliance. Does that make sense? I don't know. Did I explain that in any way adequately?
You did, but in the end, it still comes down to I still don't understand what it really does. Because it's still, what does it really do? In the end, what does it really do?
Theoretically, it creates a roadmap where the ACC, the Big 10, and the Pac-12 will all talk with each other and try to come up with some what's good for the goose is good for the gander strategies. That is to say, if the ACC, Big 10, and Pac-12 can create round-robin scheduling where every ACC team is going to play a Big 10 and a Pac-12 team, every Pac-12 team plays a Big 10 and an ACC team, every Big 10 team plays a Pac-12 and you create some marquee matchups that compete with the SEC, then that generates interest in being on TV. You can generate more television revenue. It helps the Big 10 and the Pac-12 more than the ACC.
So basically non-conference games, it's basically stuff that they were doing anyway, right? I mean, So what they're saying, so
Not really, because you're mandating it. Whereas right now, the schools
Okay.
aren't mandated
all right,
to do
all right.
this.
So if you got a shot to, if you're the Big Ten, you got a shot to play an SEC team. Will you go within the alliance instead, or will you play the SEC team? You're going to play the SEC team unless it's mandated by the alliance that you can't do that, right?
Yeah, but keep in mind the SEC outside of like Bama, Tennessee used to, Georgia, I guess. SEC doesn't love scheduling big out of conference matchups. Right? Like what's the stat for Mark Ryan's beloved Florida Gators? Florida hasn't played a top 25 team outside of the state of Florida since like 1989. They don't do it. They don't love to do it. The competition in conference is so tough, they don't go out of conference. And that's kind of what this does.
You're talking about Florida. I was thinking of the top SEC teams.
Sure, Bama, Georgia, Tennessee. I almost said Tennessee.
Well, yeah,
That's
Tennessee's
not
not in there.
Yeah, but Bama, Georgia,
LSU sometimes.
LSU will play the neutral site game occasionally, but not often. So that's kind of where this comes from. Texture says, Rob, love how the show is growing and evolving. Congrats on the award. I love Mark as well, but it's a bit odd he doesn't go a single show without talking about sex. Sure, we all love it, but I think there is something Freudian about how much he needs to discuss it. Text line's going to be weird today too, isn't it? Isn't it? We've been having a week, boys.
I have no comment.
Having a week. Quick break. We're back after this to wrap up hour 1 of the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate.
At a red light this morning, and I see a truck go by, and there is a picture on the side of the truck of Guy Fieri and Sammy Hagar with some kind of tequila or something.
Cabo Wabo.
Was it Cabo? I didn't
Cabo
think it was
Wabo,
Cabo.
that's
I know.
Obviously he is if he's on the truck.
Well, you see that hair, you know who it is right
Hey,
away.
look, Guy's just trying to take you to Flavortown, Lonzo. I love Guy Fieri. It turns out he's a really super dude.
I can't say his last name, but I like him too.
Fieri.
Fieri. Why did I say Fieri? I don't know.
Fieri. Turns out he is a super human being.
My wife watches a lot of programs that he's on, like the supermarket thing and stuff like that. And doesn't he do dives and is he dives and diners? I think
Diners, driving, and dives.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm a big Guy Fieri fan.
Huh. We got some breaking news when we come back.
Oh yeah.
And I'm a little surprised by it.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters and a game and a tie. The type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs and overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
Now's the time to book your team's fantasy football draft party at Twin Peaks. Contact your local Twin Peaks today to take advantage of the sweet draft party packs for the whole league. Visit our site at twinpeaksrestaurant.com/fantasydraft.
Now.
Save like a pro with Founders Federal Credit Union. Founders Loyalty Select account gives you the opportunity to grow your savings at our best rate yet. Fund your account through your favorite Loyalty Select product to get saving today. Not a member yet? Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our more than 30 office locations to see if you qualify for membership. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Mad World Haunted Attraction officially opens September 10th.
So my son is going to start going to see movies without me, which is, rough, but he did move out and everything. So I'm thinking about doing a nerd meetup to go see movies so I can get, like-minded individuals to go with me so I don't have to go by myself.
So,
which is totally against my nature.
He moved out. It doesn't mean he's not allowed to still meet you at a movie theater, right?
Yeah, but he's going with his buddies, and we don't want to mix.
Yeah, I get that. My
Yeah.
mom, I get it. How old is Cameron?
He's 27.
Okay.
So, but for a couple reasons, I don't want to mix groups because you're not going to act the same way.
Yeah, no,
that you would when your dad's not there. And yeah, I get that.
100% agree.
Plus, I don't want to spend the entire time signing autographs. It's annoying. After a while, you just want to watch the movie.
That would be the number one concern. Obviously, would be the legion of Cameron fanboys.
Well, I was talking about me.
No, I know.
Yeah, I mean
that.
yeah.
Well, I meant that would be following around Cameron's dad because, obviously,
multiple award winner, 3 different shows.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to hit it to you.
Thanks, bud.
Breaking news, Teddy Bridgewater has been named the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos.
Teddy B, H2O, baby, knocking out Drew Lock. How about it?
And I'm kind of shocked by that.
Yeah, not kind of, entirely.
Yeah, it's told you Denver's not good.
Not kind of shocked, entirely shocked by that, man. Wow. That's really interesting.
After seeing what we saw with Teddy last year, it doesn't mean that he won't do well, but how about his Drew Lock?
Right, it's more of a referendum on Drew Lock. Vic Fangio informed our team this morning that Teddy Bridgewater will be the Broncos starting quarterback. Adam Schefter confirming Broncos named Teddy B their starting at QB. 5 days short of the 5-year anniversary of his devastating knee injury, Teddy Bridgewater wins the starting job in Denver. Broncos have announced. Texter says, therefore, the Broncos are going to suck. Bolt up, baby.
Well,
I wish y'all would have seen Lonzo's eyes as I read that text, because it started with, hey, Chiefs Kingdom, and it ended with, oh, gross. Ew.
Hey,
it's pretty incredible.
Hey, the Chargers should have a pretty good team, had a pretty good team last year. They're not going to be as good as the Chiefs, but they're going to have a pretty good team. They're going to be better than Denver.
What happened to Drew Lock?
I don't know.
What happened?
No. What happened to John Elway? That's the question. Because Who picks worse teams? And yeah, I know he brought in Peyton Manning, but who picks worse who's worse at doing that? Him or Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan's kind of figured it out now, we think.
Just call it what it is. This is why, and I'm gonna go whiny baby radio guy here. This is why it always frustrates me when radio companies get rid of good radio people and put former players on the air as if that makes them good at a job. John Elway was one of the best quarterbacks to ever play football. John Elway can't evaluate quarterbacks to save his ass.
I hated that guy.
Sure.
But I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm
Yeah,
supposed
you
to.
had to. John Elway was one of the best to ever do it. But John Elway can't evaluate quarterbacks to save his own job, quite literally. This is why it always frustrates me when people just get former player X and think that that's going to translate to success in any football-related activity. I mean, every now and then it does, right? John Lynch and the 49ers have done very well, and Lynch is a similar story to John Elway. But guy used to be in the league doesn't translate. I have heard a lot of former players get into radio and TV, and then they suck. For every Tony Romo, there's 50 guys that used to play, get on a mic, and suck at broadcasting. It just is what it is. What happened to Drew Lock, man? Hey, congratulations to Teddy BH2O. Let's take a break. Hour number 2 just around the corner. John Hartz joins us in about 20 minutes to talk Greenville Triumph football and more on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
We'll have a Prisma in the first break.
Automotivemap.com presents the Sports Flash on ESPN Upstate. It's the final week of NFL preseason action. The Panthers set for Friday night's home matchup against the Steelers. Saturday night, Washington plays host to Baltimore. The Saints at home against the Cardinals. Sunday, the Jaguars visit the Cowboys. Baseball Tuesday, the Yankees outlasted Atlanta 5-4. Nice start for Atlanta's Charlie Morton. 4 runs on 6.
Morton.
Atlanta rallied with a run in the bottom of the ninth, but couldn't get the equalizer. New York's Wandy Peralta able to close things out. Elsewhere, the Rays beat the Phillies 3-1. The Giants shut out the Mets 8-0. Atlanta still leads the NL East by 5 games over the Phillies, 7 games over the third-place Mets. The Rays are the leader in the AL East, 4.5 games better than the Yankees, 7 games better than the Red Sox. Boston with an 11-9 win at Fenway over the Twins. The Angels pounded the Orioles 14-8. Download the free Score app. Lightning fast updates so you never miss a thing. It's why the Score app is one of North America's most popular sports apps. That's your Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders on ESPN Upstate.
Have you heard the Rob Brown Show?
So Garrett Cole of the Yankees got asked to his face, are you using sticky stuff on the ball? And he gave the worst answer possible. I don't know. I don't know if I don't quite know how to answer this, to be honest. I do, Garrett. Like literally any other way. Like, could you imagine in any circumstance trying to pass that off? The boss says, "Hey man, did you get that project finished last night?" I don't know. I don't know if I don't quite know how to answer this, to be honest. Hey honey, what's this $300 tab from a gentleman's club? I don't know. I don't know if how to answer this, to be honest. Hey, literally anything else, Garrett.
Hey, Greenville, Spartanburg. That's the Rob Brown Show. On ESPN Upstate.
The wait is almost over. Hey, Furman fans, Dan Scott here, inviting you to join me and the entire broadcast crew for the Paladin season opener, Saturday, September 4th versus North Carolina A&T, right here on ESPN Upstate. We start with the Pepsi countdown to kick off at 12:30 p.m., and the 2021 season officially gets underway at 2 o'clock. Game action, scores, highlights, interviews, you'll get it all. That's Saturday, September 4th, Furman and North Carolina A&T, and it's all here exclusively on the flagship station for Furman Sports, ESPN Upstate.
And away we go. The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is ESPN Upstate. Talking a little football. Teddy BH2O, starting quarterback for your Denver Broncos this year. Just announced by Vic Fangio a couple of minutes ago. And speaking of moves being made around the National Football League, found out just a couple of hours ago that the New England Patriots are sending former Georgia Bulldog Sony Michel to the LA Rams for what could end up being a 4th-round draft pick in 2022. The compensation was officially announced as a 5th and 6th-round pick in 22, but that's because the Rams have yet to receive any compensatory picks. If and when the Rams receive the 4th-round compensatory pick they are expecting from free agent losses this offseason, that selection will head to New England. So right now, it looks like the Patriots will send Sony Michel and receive, if it comes through, St. Los Angeles's 4th-round compensatory pick in return for a 5th and 6th-round pick in 2022. Cam Akers, former Florida Stater, out for the season with a torn right Achilles tendon. Darrell Henderson Jr. suffered a mild thumb sprain, meant he's probably going to miss some time. So the Rams were basically out of running back depth. Raymond Calais was also hurt, leaving the Rams only 2nd-year undrafted back Xavier Jones and 7th-rounder Jake Funk on the depth chart. So they go get Sony Michel. And kind of interesting here, though, Sony Michel had actually looked kind of good in the preseason. Couple of wild catches, couple of catches out of the backfield, looked pretty versatile for the most part. Patriots will now use Damian Harris as the lead back. Harris was looked good last year up until he started having some injuries really jump up and bang around. New England also has James White and Brandon Bolden on standby alongside Ramondre Stevenson and J.J. Taylor. But of all the backs in the room to send over, though, Sony Michel is an interesting choice.
It makes you think that there's something else going on, maybe not getting along in the locker room or something like that, because I never heard anything like that he was a problem. And I thought he's done pretty well since he's been there. When you think of the running backs for New England, that's the guy who comes to mind in recent memory. So
100%.
Yeah, so it is a little shocking that they're sending him away, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's more to it.
Completely agreed. Completely agreed. That's just a weird situation, man. I don't fully understand that, to tell you the truth. I don't get like where that came from. Anyway, that's the move that happened this morning. So we'll keep an eye on the NFL lines as we get closer, because keep in mind that you've got this week. You got this week in preseason. You got 80 men on the roster as it stands today. You've got to get it down to 53 a week from yesterday. You got to get down to your 53-man roster. And then the NFL season starts up a week after that. We're here. It is time officially. So we'll take a look at the movement. What's going to be really interesting is that next week, after the cuts get made to get down to 53, that first couple of days is going to be gnarly with movements. And then it's Thursday, September 9th. Dallas, Tampa Bay on the schedule, man. Should be interesting. All right. Texter just texted and said Bridgewater is QB1. Yeah, we just talked about that. That is correct. Teddy B getting the nod over Drew Lock. As Lonzo said last segment when that news broke, I hate to say this because I like the kid, but I think this says more about Drew Lock than Teddy Bridgewater, right? Like, we saw Bridgewater. Let me rephrase that. Let me ask this as a question. Lonzo, last year's numbers for Teddy BH2O. Referendum on Teddy Bridgewater or referendum on how bad the Carolina Panthers were last year? Or both?
I was going to say, I think it's a mix of both. I don't think you pick one over the other. You have a little more experience with what Teddy Bridgewater was able to do with New Orleans.
He looked good in New Orleans.
That's how he got that contract, was because of that. I don't know what the expectations were exactly of him when he came to the Panthers, but he was. I always thought he was kind of a mediocre quarterback, and that's how he played. He had some games where he looked really good, and had some games where he didn't look as good. He was not the worst quarterback in the league, so it's not it is a surprise that he beat out Drew Lock, because a lot of people were high on Drew Lock, and I just never saw that. Will Drew Lock still be on this team? Will they cut Drew Lock?
I don't think so. I think you keep him as a backup, right?
Do you?
Yeah, I think. I think the kid's shown the potential.
All right, I know how this is going to sound, especially after what I just said, but you get beat out by Bridgewater, and you've been the starter. I think he's gone.
So the league is as much about back. Let me phrase that. Is as much about keeping backup quarterbacks and having a guy you can turn to. Their backup quarterback is Brett Rypien. Brett don't even know how to functionally say his last name.
Is it Rypien?
Rypien. I don't know how to say the last name. That's the point. So Teddy BH201, Drew Lock 2. I think you have to. Unless Drew Lock goes, screw you, I'm out. Which he might. He might go diva. He might genuinely feel like he deserved better than this.
By the way, Brett Rypien, or Rypien, however you want to say it, is a rookie quarterback from Boise State who started 49 of 50 games and was 37-12 as far as his record goes. Pretty good.
Okay. It's not wrong.
Boise State, not a horrible team.
Not wrong. All right. 844-477-3776.
That's what I thought. Okay. It is Rypien because he's nephew of Mark Rypien.
Okay. There you go. Rypien.
Super Bowl MVP Mark
Rypien. All right. 844-GSP-ESPN, 844-477-3776. Text us on the Ingles Market text line at 71307. Tweet us at the Rob Brown Show at Lonzo and Ward.
Would you want Drew Lock to be your starter?
No.
Okay.
But I don't want Teddy Bridgewater to be my starter either. I love Teddy BH2O. I have been a Teddy BH2O fan. The dude is a genuinely good human being. Teddy Bridgewater deserves every compliment and deserves every praise that Tim Tebow gets. He's that good of a dude.
If Bridgewater would have stayed in New Orleans, would he had a shot at starting there?
No, because he's
even
not that good.
After what he did. Okay.
Because, and here, God, I thought we were going to make it through the week without saying anything about Tim Tebow.
You brought him up.
Here,
I don't know why.
I understand.
I don't understand why he had to drop his name.
Here's why. Because all of you that go, Rob just hates Tim Tebow, listen to me very closely. I love Teddy Bridgewater. He's a good dude, a good person who did a lot for the city of New Orleans, both as a player and a person. And when he got to Carolina, I was excited for Teddy Two Gloves because I wanted to see if Teddy BH2O could still do it as a starter. And I was excited for him to get the opportunity. But just like Tim Tebow, he's not that good of a quarterback. Okay? He's above average. He's better than Tim Tebow as an NFL quarterback. But he's not that good. And the fact that he beat out Drew Lock, I don't know what it shocks me. It surprises me a little bit about Drew Lock. I really did think Drew Lock was going to be a guy in Denver. And I guess he's just not. 844-477-3776. Speaking of, if you did not hear it, speaking of starters, the Jacksonville Jaguars have announced that Timmy Terrific that Trevor Lawrence. I see what you done to me.
I
did to me.
You brought him up.
Y'all got that man living rent free in my head. We ain't even talking about him.
Well, apparently we are, since you brought him up like 2 or 3 times.
Trevor Lawrence is the starter. Can you go to clip 1A if you don't mind, please, here, Alonzo? Trevor Lawrence named the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this was Herb yesterday talking about the progress that Trevor Lawrence has made in the preseason.
I thought he got a little better, and I thought we protected him a little bit better. I think there's only 1 sack, if I remember right, for the night. Yeah, we got DJ Chark. I'm counting on him to get back and give us a little vertical threat down the field. I didn't, Philip Dorsett's got great speed. We got to start getting the ball, and that was the plan. And we just didn't execute in the run game, and then the throw game, we just wasn't much rhythm in the first half.
So, talked a little bit about the game. Said there's very little rhythm. Both him and Trevor Lawrence have both consistently said that the offense needs to get better. First string offense needs to get better. And they will get a little bit better. Scratch that. They were going to get a little bit better until Travis Etienne went down with a Lisfranc injury in his foot and will now likely miss a majority, if not the entire 2021-22 season. But they do get DJ Chark DJ Chark back in the mix for week 1, which will open up the field a little bit for TL16. Teams won't be quite as able to stack the box again. It'll give them a little breathing room. But that offensive line is not great. Not great. So he's going to be put into the blender from week 1. Fortunately for him, Houston does not have the defensive line they had just a year ago with the loss of J.J. Watt and co. So week 1, he gets a little bit of a. Could you imagine if he was going up against a Kansas City in week 1? Poor guy. He gets a bit of a reprieve in week 1, which is good news. Let's do this. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, John Harkes is the head coach of your Greenville Triumph. John Harkes is going to join us in the next segment. Things have not been going exceptionally well for the Greenville Triumph. So John Harkes will go on the record and say what is in the process of changing for your reigning, defending, undisputed USL League One champs. That's coming up next. I'm Rob. He is the dystopian nightmare Lonzo, and this is ESPN Upstate.
Prisma.
Prisma Health are the Upstate, the official healthcare provider for both the Gamecocks and the Tigers, and they want to be the official healthcare provider for you and your family as well. And they make it very, very simple, convenient, easy to make that happen. Go to PrismaHealth.org. Go to PrismaHealth.org. And when you get to PrismaHealth.org, you are going to see that they have over 2,400 healthcare providers within their network. You are going to find out that they have locations all around the Midlands and the Upstate, so that there is a location that is convenient to you. That's right. No matter where you live, no matter what your needs are, there is a doctor that you can trust for you and your family, and there is a location that makes getting to see that doctor easy and convenient. Plus, you can do virtual visits. So if you are like me, you're in the building early in the day, you don't get out till late, it's tough for you to be away from your computer for more than a few minutes at a time, well, just pop on that webcam and have a virtual visit with your doctor so that you and your doctor can stay on top of your healthcare needs. Go to PrismaHealth.org to learn more. PrismaHealth.org. It's our friends at Prisma Health right here in the Upstate.
Is he calling us or are we calling him?
We're calling him. Close the
No, Michael. I have added a new nickname. That's my wrestling nickname. Conversation yesterday. You probably would have, I don't want to say enjoyed it, but you might wanted to be a part of it. But still, go back and listen to it in hour number 2 of the podcast. I'm thinking of putting my name on the bowling league as Dystopian Nightmare. Ooh-wee.
It's called Navage. Navage. Available at Navage.com.
Forwarded to voicemail right away.
Make sure I have the right number. Show and ESPN Upstate. Coach Harks, welcome back, man. Great to have you on, partner.
Hey, thank you so much. How are you? And great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Always, Coach. Always, Coach. Let's jump right into it. I don't think anybody who's been following this team is going to be surprised. It's been a bit of tough sledding recently. Saw some of the comments that you made after this past Sunday evening's matchup with Richmond at home, an 0-2 loss with both goals coming in the second half. And that seems to be the trend lately. Just your thoughts on where the team stands right now.
Yeah, we've gone through a really difficult time where, because of so many injuries or suspensions, we haven't been able to put a consecutive lineup together from one week to the next, from one game to the next. And so, as we keep our perspectives and our priorities in order, we also look at the fact that based on resources and availability, it's like we can't play a certain style of play that we want to play sometimes. I'm not making excuses for it, but, we do see that there's a mental strain or there's fatigue. And so there's certain players that are taking on a lot of that responsibility, and not getting the wins makes it a bit stressful. And when guys get stressful, they start to understand that, okay, something's wrong. And then when they start to think about something's wrong, they focus on that. And what I'm trying to do is I'm not saying like we don't have to be positive all the time. I'm not saying that, but the obstacles that are getting thrown at us or the adversity that's being thrown at us, that's meant to be there so that we can overcome these things. Because if everybody, if everything just came easy, then everybody would have success. It's that you have to, like, being successful isn't going to apologize to you. You've got to put the work in. It's hard. And as we get through this time period, we know that it's really important. And I've had talks with the team and players, and believe me, they're putting it in on the training fields. They are working hard. I mean, they really are. And this group of guys, man, they put it in every day. And every weekend they fight. But there's things that just aren't clicking at times, or there's an individual that doesn't make a play, makes a mistake. And I'm just saying, look, the positivity right now has to be greater than the negativity. That's all. And so, don't show them that you're down and out. Always come in there with your heads held high and fight and compete. And, if we can continue to do that, and remember like who we are and getting back to just sometimes the basics. Like, hey, if you're a defender, defend. If you're a midfielder, connect the game. If you're an attacking player, let's put the ball in the back of the net. And so little parts like that in the game haven't worked for us right now. And so, look, we got to keep working every day, pick ourselves up and get after it. That's what we got to do. There's no time or room to feel sorry for yourselves because we lost a couple of games in a row. No, that's not the end of the world. There are people all over the world that are struggling, and those are serious things. Those are issues. And we got to be able to understand our purpose. And our purpose is getting the next 3 points. And going away to Tucson this weekend is going to be a big challenge. They just won 4-0 against Fort Lauderdale. So understanding what our purpose is, putting the work in that we're doing in the training field. And we just came off of a great, really hard workload today, but also a mental workload, and changing a few things here and there. So hopefully it works, and we just keep pushing forward. That's what we've got to do. We got to keep supporting the guys when they're down.
John Harks, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. And I wanted to ask, I'm glad you went that direction with that, Coach. I wanted to ask because, and this included Sunday, it included the last 2 Saturdays. This team has looked like it is like it is aggressive, like the mentality is there, like the mentality hasn't changed from the same team that was dominating early this season, dominated all year last year. It just seems like there is a mistake here and there in the second half, and once it happens, things have come unraveled. As the head coach, what are you seeing in the second half that you would like to see change, whether it is a mentality amongst the players, whether it is something to do with the tactics that's being changed or not changed? What are you seeing that you think attributes the second half really looking where the problems seem to be piling up?
I don't think it's necessarily just second half. I think it goes back to, again, it's not like we're an MLS2 team where we have a roster that we can borrow players from the first team and say, hey guys, we have all these injuries. We need 3, 4, 5 guys. We don't have the resource. And so we're an independent club. And so even for Toronto, we went up to Toronto. There's some players that are non-vaccinated on our team. They can't travel. We have 2 guys, 1 guy suspended. We have 2 guys here. We get another suspension when we're on the road through Brandon Fricky. And so there's more, there's things that we're just not getting a break. And so we got 13 guys on available to play on the day. We're playing with 10 men. And now we've got to be really smart how we manage the game. We got to be smart about when I make the subs. There has to be, not that we're ever not trying to be smart, but there's just such a really fine line now. There's a small margin for error. And a lot of guys are putting their heart into it and their character and stuff like that. I just think that there are times where we can be a little bit more efficient and really make the game a little bit easier with us. And we're not. We're trying to overcomplicate the game because we're not getting those wins. And that becomes a difficult thing. But that is part about being a pro club. You're not going to win all the time. You're going to have games that challenge you, and you're going to lose games, or you're going to go through a period of time where you've had 4 or 5 draws in a row. And, based on the personalities on the field or the personnel that's available, sometimes you can't play, like I said earlier, a certain style of play. So we keep going. We're not losing any bit of confidence here. We're not shying away from responsibilities. Our guys work hard. We're every day in here. The coaching staff, we haven't taken a day off in a long time. And we're just trying to be a little bit more efficient with our work and hopefully prepare, really well for Tucson away this weekend.
John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. And I know we've talked about runs of games where there's a struggle and whatnot, but Coach, I've talked in the past about the difference between excuses and reasons, right? Excuses are when something is within your control and it gets away from you. And a reason is when something is outside of your control and it impacts you. I have heard some fans that I disagree with them vehemently call the injury bug that has really been plaguing you guys an excuse. I don't think it is. I think it's a reason. When I jump on every match day and see some of the guys, some of the big names that are out, not just because of what they do, but how they fit into the chemistry y'all have built. It seems to me like this year, maybe as hard as any professional team I've seen in a while, have just really been hamstrung by the guys that have been not able to stay healthy here and there. I think it would be unfair for me as an analyst not to ask, is there something that's concerning the cause for that? And B, with those injuries stacking up the way they have, how big of a reason has that been that it's been hard to maintain that chemistry?
Well, normally when you have soft, muscle tissue injuries and things like that, then you kind of start second guessing your chronic workload. It's been a mix of things. It hasn't been one specific thing. Jacob Goodall gets hit with the ball in his head after he's been out for 4.5 weeks from a knee injury. He comes back in, he's ready to play, and then he gets hit in the training session hard in the head and then gets a concussion. He's out for 2 weeks. Aaron Walker was out in the beginning of the year. Alex Morel has been in and out with a hamstring injury. He's an explosive type of player, so it's he's certain tight. We played a lot of games on the road in the beginning parts of so a lot of travel. Brandon Fricky was, had a few injuries here and there. He also had a suspension. Evan Lee was injured. It's nonstop. JJ Donnelly was out for a while. Max Hemmings was out for a while. And it's not excuses. Lachlan McLean has missed a lot of our season. Noah Pilato has missed a lot. And, these are two key players that really did well last year for us and drove the game. Abdi Mohammed has missed 33 training sessions out of 100. We had our 100th training session last week, and he missed 33 of them. So 33% of the time he's not in training. So he's got injuries. He's in and out. It's just one thing after another. Don Smart misses a game because we let him go away and he had a baby girl, which is fantastic. Jesus Sabaro had to travel this week and go away because he lost his uncle through COVID. So there's just been one thing after another. They are not excuses. They are facts. players aren't available to play. You have to rotate around. You don't have a big roster. You're in USL League One. You're looking at budgets. So, look, if there's fans, everyone's going to be upset and this and that. Everybody wants to win all the time. You can't. But I say, like, one of the best coaches I studied and read up on, Lou Holtz, he said a quote which really always sticks with me. And you talk about, Rob, like the things you can control. Well, ability is what you're capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. Attitude determines how well you do it. And so we are working on a consistent basis to make sure that our culture and the attitude of our players, and we're motivating them, and they believe in their own ability. So if you put that all together and you have healthy bodies there, now you can pick and choose players to come in when you want, and you can make a difference. You can impact the game tactically. Right now we can't. We're struggling. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players that were not available for training today. So we have 2 players in on trial. That means that we have 13 field players available to compete in training, plus our keepers. And that's difficult to work with. So we're trying to get through it, and it's going through a tough speed. But when you get through those tough phases of training and through the season, you come good. You're hoping to come good. That's the plan. And we're planning things. We're looking at a plan A and a plan B as we go into games now. We have to. And you know what? You get calls against you, referees, but, it's really difficult and struggling when you go 3 games in the season, you're playing with 10 men. Our guys showed resilience in those games. We got 4 points out of it. And then you get a penalty call against Fort Lauderdale, and then the ARs making a call 45 yards away from where the call is, and they reverse the penalty. So you're like, the guys are thinking to themselves, like, man, we just can't get a break. But you just have to keep fighting. You have to keep planning. You have to keep looking at video. You break down the game and you say, look, let's get after it. Pick yourself up every day. We're lucky to be pros in this game, and you get after it. That's the attitude you got to have.
John Harkes, head coach of the Greenville Triumph, here on the Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate. By the way, Coach, so that I'm looking through our text line and our Facebook stream, and Josh and Ryan and Joe and a bunch of others are sending in compliments and praise and saying, messages of motivation. Before that game on Sunday, I was there and I saw the Riot, La Familia, and some of the other supporters groups do something they hadn't done all year, which is they moved their pregame over toward the locker room and set up a tunnel with the drums and everything there. And as I saw the players come out of the tunnel to walk towards the pitch to start the match, there was an energy and there was an excitement in the stadium. Even if things have not gone as well as we have gotten used to, there was an energy and an excitement and a positivity around that stadium. And even after the game was over, I immediately heard folks in Section 110 start making the plans for the next home match. How important is it to keep that positive energy, not just amongst the supporters group, but amongst the players, amongst the coaches, amongst the team as well?
Huge. I've been asking, for that support for a long time. I think we should always have, the fans there for the players when we come out of that, out of the locker room or as we're entering the field. And, they should all be in their seats. Everybody should see the team when they enter. And I go, now you see them when we come out, and it's fantastic. The buzz is there. The energy's there. They love the supporters are great. They really are. They've been behind us, and we constantly thank them for that. And it makes a difference. It makes a big difference, especially when you're exhausted and it's in the 80th minute and you're trying to fight to get through games. Sometimes you need that extra little push. The fans bring it to us, so they've been great. And I know our players have really told them how much we appreciate that stuff. So. We remember as we go from week to week, the fans, it makes your heart grow so much bigger when you have that support behind you. And then that self-belief kicks back in again, even when things are going against you. So, yeah, they've been great. We love to see them all the time. And, they've been keeping things positive. I like that.
John Harkes joining us here on the Rob Brown Show. Coach, last one, we'll let you go. How much would it mean for this team to be able to go right the ship on the road? I mean, we've heard players in the past say sometimes a change of scenery, sometimes getting away from the norm, from the routine, getting into a hotel room, having to travel can kind of change mentality a little bit. How big would it be for the Triumph to be able to go on the road to Tucson and get a win this weekend?
Oh, I think it's huge. I mean, you're looking for some sort of injection, some type of positive point system, like winning the game like that can change the season for you. So it's a tight season. I mean, I told everybody, I told Chris Lewis, everybody in the ownership group, in 2019, this league is going to get stronger and harder every single year, and we're seeing that in year 3. The players that are coming in that are competing for spots, the clubs that are pushing and the resources they have. And, now look, I mean, there's 12 teams here fighting and it's anyone's game right now. So we've got a couple of games in hand on Tormenta. They played 2 more than us. We got to make the most of it. If we can get the result away from home, against Tucson, that's brilliant. It pushes us back up in the thick of it and starts to separate that from the gap, from the rest of the team. So it's a process, man. They say it all the time, but some people don't believe in that. They want instant results, and it doesn't happen like that in pro sports, in any league in the world, in any sport in the world. It doesn't happen like that. There's nothing you can do to snap your finger and say it's going to happen, it's going to change. It takes players to do it. It takes coaching staff to do it. We're working together. We're going to get there.
John Harkes is the head coach of your reigning, defending, undisputed USL League One Greenville Triumph. Coach, my man, look, like I said, I've got messages pouring in on Twitter and our Facebook stream of supporters and fans wishing, motivation and goodwill. I know you guys are going to go on the road and give it everything you got on Sunday. Look forward to getting back on the right side of things and getting you back on soon, man.
Sounds great, man. Thank you so much. Always good to spend time with you and, keep plugging away. We love your show, and I look forward to talking with you next time.
Thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate it. That's John Harkes, head coach of your Greenville Triumph. Quick break. We're back after this on The Rob Brown Show and ESPN Upstate.
If you're a business owner with salespeople, how in the world could you say no to this offer? The top 20% of your salespeople close 80% of the business. 80% of all sales are closed after the 5th attempt, and 83% of all salespeople don't even ask for the sale once. Did you know that 90% of all salespeople have never even read one sales book? How many sales are being lost each month simply because your salespeople are not professionally trained how to sell? Hi, this is the world's top sales trainer, Jason Evans. I'm going to give you a free 45-minute video of pure sales training techniques that will increase your company's sales within days, guaranteed. This could double, even triple your company's sales. This video is closing, handling objections, and more. Just call us, leave us a voicemail or email address, and we'll send you this amazing video for free. Call 800-500-8320.
Nothing worse than having limited time to go to the restroom and going to the restroom and it's full up and having to come back.
In this market, you'll find Fisher Investments is different than other money managers. Fisher is different? How? Don't you just ride the wave? Nope. We actively manage client portfolios based on our forward-looking views of the market. In times like these, we understand that clients want proactive communication and guidance. You don't just provide cookie-cutter portfolios? No. We get to know our clients so we can tailor their portfolios to their specific goals and needs. We even offer resources on Social Security, Medicare, tax efficiency, and more. Our primary goal is to help them achieve a comfortable retirement. But you still sell investments that generate high commissions, right? No, we don't sell commission products. Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, the highest standard for a financial advisor. It means we're there for our clients and always put their interests first. So when do you make more money? Only when your clients make more money? Yep, our fees are transparent, structured so we do better when our clients do better. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you are switching to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different from management. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Life is already full of surprises, but your tuition shouldn't be one of them. While education costs rise in the U.S. every year, University of Phoenix is committed to protecting you from rising tuition costs.
So if you see me over here nervous, it's because, every spot was taken in the restroom and I really have to go. And there's no way I could get downstairs and back in a limited time. Yes.
Start the segment and go take a break.
I'm not going to do that.
Ain't going nowhere.
I can hold it 6 or 7 minutes and then do a live and then go. So who should I blame? Should I blame the other two people or should I blame you for
Most people blame me for most things. So.
Hey man, chin up, okay? At least you got to go and I didn't, and I'm positive. You can be positive. 30 seconds.
Hey, Rob, this Evan Fournier tweet? What?
Easy it was to bundle with Geico. Bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors. You wanted the best, you got the
best. Somebody texted in on the Ingles Market text line, hey, Rob, this Evan Fournier tweet. And I'm like, what's he talking about? So I went and looked up Evan Fournier on Twitter. The next iteration of 2K has come out. And Zoe, this is what they made Evan Fournier look like in the game.
See, I don't know what he looks like normally, so that could be what he looks like. I don't know, but
Lonzo, look at that guy.
All right. To a certain degree.
Here's what he looks like normally.
Okay. Well, he's not as animated in that picture.
And then they stuck my dude with this. They made him look.
Put a cowboy hat on him. He looked just perfect in Red Dead Redemption.
Like if Tim Burton made a Pixar movie, that's what they made Evan Fournier look like in this in the next iteration of NBA 2K.
Or a little bit like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
He looks like he's about to murder a toaster.
He does.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you. Texter, I just want to tell you thank you for sending that to me. Thank you for sending that to me. Speaking of ridiculous stories, this one came across earlier today. Nirvana's Nevermind album? That's the iconic one, right? The naked baby in the pool.
You're gonna spoil another Twitter trend. That's fine now. I'll find
this is worth
something
the
else.
discussion.
Is it?
This
okay.
is worth the discussion.
All right, because that was going to take up a good portion of Twitter trending.
No,
but that's fine.
Because the point of Twitter is to get like 6 or 7 topics in. Like spend like 30 to a minute on each one, get 6 or 7 in. This one's worth a conversation. Spencer Eldon. You don't know who Spencer Eldon is, and that's okay. I didn't either till this morning. Spencer Eldon is the baby. Well, he's a grown-ass man.
Yeah, he was the baby.
Spencer Eldon was the baby who appeared on the cover art for Nirvana's Nevermind album. You can get mad, Lonzo.
Yeah.
Through these.
Yeah. Well, there's a problem there.
Twitter sucks today.
Some days there aren't things up there. I mean, I can make. I'm good.
All right, so Spencer Eldon appeared as a naked baby on the cover of Nirvana's 1991 album Nevermind. He, along with an attorney, have now sued the record's the record's producers for child pornography and is suing Nirvana over alleged child sexual exploitation.
I had always wondered how they got away with doing that. Because, you find that on the guy who's in Cube 3 downstairs, he's going to jail.
The rock album's cover features Eldon, then an infant, swimming underwater while undressed, his eyes fixated on a $1 bill. It became one of the most enduring images in rock music after the record's release. But in a complaint filed on Tuesday at a federal court in California and obtained by CNN, Eldon's attorney said the image was pornographic and that he suffered lifelong damages as a result of his involvement. Eldon is now 30 years old, has listed the surviving band members, the executors of lead singer Kurt Cobain's estate, and various record labels as defendants. He is seeking $150,000 in damages from each of the defendants, plus legal costs, and alleges the defendants, quote, knowingly produced, possessed, and advertised commercial child pornography. The lawsuit alleges Eldon was sexualized because the dollar bill used in the image made the baby resemble, quote, a sex worker, end quote. Eldon was, of course, so traumatized by this cover, Lonzo, that he has recreated the image several times during his adulthood. Most of them in order to make money off of it. In 2007, he told the Sunday Times that he, quote, found it kind of creepy that many people have seen me naked. I feel like the world's biggest porn star, end quote. The following year, he told CNN that he was often asked to attend events as the Nirvana baby, end quote. Eldon told CNN back in 2008 that rumor had it Cobain had the original concept of wanting to show a mother giving birth underwater, but the compromise was to have a baby swimming underwater. That's what I was told. The lawsuit alleges Eldon, quote, has been and will continue to suffer personal injury by the distribution and possession of child pornography, end quote. There's an old saying, was it Tipper Gore that said it back during the craze back in the day? The I know it when I see it defense. And I want to say it was Tipper Gore that said she was asked to define pornography because she was trying to label some music that she did not like back in the day as pornography. And they said define pornography. And she said, I don't know how to define pornography, but I know it when I see it. Lonzo, I have seen the cover to Nirvana's Nevermind about 1 billion times, and a good chunk of the reason is because I own that album on vinyl, and never once have I looked at that album cover and thought, this is pornography.
Again, what I mentioned was I wondered how they got away with that, because especially they couldn't do it now for sure. They would not get away with it. And all I can think of as a parent is looking at that going, how much money could they pay me to allow my child to do, and there isn't an amount.
I guess what's interesting, Zoe, is that, like I said, I've seen that cover 1 million times and I've never once had that thought. I've never had any of these thoughts at all until this lawsuit came up, right? I've never thought, is this pornography? I've never thought, what would happen if I had a coworker who had this exact picture of his own kid or somebody else's kid in his office? I've never thought, I've never thought, if I ever had a kid, how much money would I want to let them take a picture of my naked baby for an album cover? I've never had any of these thoughts in my entire life until literally right now.
Well, I guess you're rock and roll and I'm just old. I guess that's what it is.
Well, we knew that. But what does that have to do with this conversation? Quick break. Wrap it up the hour next on the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Muted on the stream. How about that? Sorry about that, guys. Oh, and I still have Harksy's name up there. My bad. I'm off my game today. How long has the audio been off? Clearly a while.
Looks like since 2:05 when Steven mentioned something about it.
Which means 205? Why would I have turned it off at 2:05? Well, I guess it'd be before that. That's just when it got mentioned. Well, that killed our listenership.
You probably turned it off from my live.
I bet you that's what it was.
Which would have been about 150 something. So it's a good half hour.
Cool. Cool.
I've got to get this thing logged in again over here so I can keep an eye on it too. It's my fault.
And then there's the best. You're listening to the best sports talk show on the stage, according to the South Carolina Broadcasters Association.
Well, to those of you that were on the stream and left because the audio was off, it turns off, and this may shock you. I'm dumb. That's on me. My bad. So if you were watching the stream, you can join back up on Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, Facebook.com/ESPN Upstate, Twitter.com/ESPN Upstate, or check us out on YouTube by searching The Rob Brown Show on YouTube, The Rob Brown Show on YouTube.
And by the way, later on, go back and find the section where our lips are just moving and feel free to make us say whatever you think we're saying.
All right. Let's get some sound in here, shall we? Let's start with clip number 4. This is going to be, I got 3 clips from Paul Feinbaum here. And I bring up Paul Feinbaum for a variety of reasons, like it or not, and many of us don't. Paul Feinbaum has kind of become the voice of college football to some degree. I don't know if I can say the voice of college football, but I can certainly say he is one of the biggest voices in college football, no doubt about it. Anyway, Feinbaum decided to talk a little bit about the alliance. He started clip 4 by saying that it is embarrassing to the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 that they need to form this alliance.
In the past, I'll just point you to last summer for a point of reference on alliances. Usually, in years past, the SEC's closest friend among conferences has been the ACC. I think in 2008, the ACC and the SEC tried to get the +1 enacted. It didn't work. As far as alliances, the SEC and the Big 12 have been close over the years. The Sugar Bowl tie-in between the Big 12 and the SEC, the Big 12 SEC basketball alliance, that's all over now. And what all these other leagues are saying is the SEC has left us behind. To me, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for proud conferences like the Pac-12. Well, let me scratch that. Like the Big Ten and the ACC to join with the Pac-12 and pretty well admit that we're having to combine forces to compete with the SEC. And I cannot wait for the explanation next week when these commissioners get together about why they left out the Big 12. That's where all this began. The SEC allegedly raided the Big 12, but these guys are not backing them up either.
Okay, few things here, Paul. Couple of things. Number 1, to get to the last thought first. Why did they leave out the Big 12? Because without Texas and Oklahoma, the Big 12's irrelevant, all right? Just is what it is. The Big 12's irrelevant. Now, those schools in the Big 12 that are not Texas and Oklahoma, that will be without a home likely in a number of years, are going to probably end up filtering into the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the ACC. Don't be shocked when they do. But they're being left out right now because they're kind of irrelevant, right? Texas and Oklahoma are going to be on the outside of this scenario looking in. And the rest of them don't really matter for the most part. Now, I love Paul saying, how embarrassing this is for the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12. It's kind of like when, the dragon looks at the dwarf, the elf, and the human and says, it's embarrassing that you three have to team up to defeat me. Well, dude, you're a dragon. Yeah, you're kind of big. You're kind of insurmountable. The SEC, especially with Texas and Oklahoma, are frankly untouchable. They just are. Is anybody going to argue with that? They had to team up, Paul, because they don't have a choice but to team up. If they don't team up, they are going up against a juggernaut created in the SEC that, frankly, they just don't have the resources to fight against. They don't have the guns. So they had to team up. That's just that's a bad take, but it doesn't surprise me all that much, Lonzo. And it doesn't surprise me all that much solely because of the fact that A, they don't care. B, Feinbaum's an SEC and ESPN guy. So, of course, in his mind, the SEC and ESPN have done nothing wrong. And so, of course, it's embarrassing they have to keep up. This is the SEC elitist mentality voiced by their PR guy.
So, does the alliance need to exist in order for Ohio State and Clemson to make it to the playoff?
So, yes and no. The reason that they're doing this is so when college football playoff expansion talk comes back to the table, which it will sooner rather than later, as it stands, the SEC would be able to go, this is how the playoffs are going to be now. 12 teams and unlimited teams per conference and basically any little advantage they can give to the SEC, they will, because who's going to outvote them? They got all the power. Whereas if the alliance comes together and has the three commissions acting as their bannermen, sitting down across the table from Sear SEC, see what I did? That's a Game of Thrones reference. Nailed it. They can put forward the power to say, no, we don't think. Clemson, Ohio State, still good enough to make the playoff every year because they're still going to be one of the top teams out there. The problem is that you'll have 7 teams from the SEC and then 5 other teams between everybody else. And the SEC can vote to create a situation where conferences get paid by the number of teams. So they'll get 7 of the 12, and one conference will get over 50% of the revenue from the college football playoffs.
So I get all that. It really comes down to money. But in the end, if the committee stays the way it is as far as the playoff committee goes, and we go to 12 teams, it's going to be the 12 best teams. So with or without an alliance, if there are 6 to 8 teams that are better in the SEC, they were going to get in anyway.
Not necessarily. Because remember, we've talked about it being the, 6 best the 6 conference champions plus the next 6 best teams. They could create a formula where they go the 6 conference champions plus the next 6 best teams, maximum of 2 per conference, or maximum of 3 per conference. So you'd have 12, but you can still only have 3 from the SEC. Remember, when the 12-team playoff came up in the beginning, I told you at the beginning, when the 12-team playoff came up, I could see a situation, if the structure is set up that way, that the SEC could get 6 to maybe 7 teams in. And they're afraid of that now, especially with 2 more of the best teams in the country and Texas and Oklahoma joining the fold. So now when they sit down at the table, the Big Ten, the ACC, and the Pac-12 might go, all right, 6 conference champs plus the next 6 best teams with a hard cap of 3 teams per conference so that the money stays spread out. And the SEC may say no, in which case, maybe that's the end. Maybe that's the split. Or the SEC says, well, as much as we want it to be that way, We can't have one 16-team league and then literally everybody else in a 41-team super league playing a full round of college football. So we tell you what, we'll sacrifice here. We'll lay down for that. We'll lay down for that one. We'll accept your 3-team cap, but we want this, and they make an agreement. Who knows? Who knows? But the point of all of that is that it creates a voting block between the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC to go mano a mano up against the SEC, which again right now is Smaug with the mountain of gold underneath him. Good luck. That's it. Let me grab clip number 6. ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips on why this expansion between these 3 conferences is happening.
In the history of college athletics, one expansion of a conference has usually led to another, and to another. And to the 3 of us, we felt the stabilization of the current environment across Division I and FBS and Power 5 in particular. This was its chance for a new direction, a new initiative that I don't think has ever been done before, and felt that that was the most appropriate step at this current time. And we're proud of it. We really are. And I think we all believe this is the right step in order for all of us to move forward at a critical juncture. Again, when you talk about a new governance structure, the 21st model of the NCAA, Alston, we're all dealing with that. So we're better together than we are separate. But I think you have to have a group that really understands that expansion doesn't mean you end up changing membership across multiple conferences in a significant shortened period of time.
So Jim Phillips says this does not mean that there will be expansion. It does not mean that we will be adding more teams. It doesn't not mean that, but he says that's not exactly what it means. Well, that's all well and good. Clip 4B, if you don't mind. A day after saying that college football, that playoff expansion would help to save college football, one more clip from Feinbaum saying that college football's togetherness that we just heard from Phillips, that we heard from Kevin Warren, that we heard from these 3 conference commissioners, Kliavkoff as well yesterday, says the whole thing's all a bunch of blah.
Yesterday, the big deal. The ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 announced an alliance between their 41 member schools. Among other things, the Pac agrees to create future scheduling partnerships. Where do you think this leaves the state of college football as you want to see it?
I think college football is in a state of disaster right now, Ryan. And the one thing that we heard last year, remember the buildup toward the season, we wanted to see a collaborative effort, and we didn't see it. We saw the Big Ten and the Pac-12 break off. They did not play the first 8 weeks of the season. And we hope that everyone would come together, because that's what these gentlemen talk about, and women, when they meet. They don't back up their own words, and that's the tragedy of this. Is college football is a mess, and it needs to come together, and it's no closer today than it's been in a long time.
So he says it's all a bunch of hooey, Lonzo. Feinbaum says that when these conferences come together and talk about their togetherness and about their coming together, that it's all just a bunch of talk. They haven't done anything. They haven't actually made any moves. It's just all a bunch of talk. Agree or disagree?
It's a bunch of talk, but so is all the panic and everything over the SEC getting new teams. I mean, eventually it may be a problem, but not this season. And this season starts this week.
Yeah.
It's not going to, this is all a bunch of talk right now. None of it's going to affect anything that we see happen this year.
No, it's going to be a couple of years down the road.
Which means there's time for things to change, get worse, or get better.
And it will. Look, there's going to be responses to all of this, right? The SEC is going to respond to this alliance now. Who knows what that response will be? And then once they do, the alliance will respond, and maybe it's a low-key response, maybe it's not. I don't know. There will be responses to all of this. What I can tell you for a fact, as this situation plays out, is that there will be college football is not going to die. It's not going to go anywhere. The American people love college football too much. Now, Lonzo, there may be a hard reset of college football, right? There may come a point where it just gets so over the top that a bunch of schools go, okay, we've gone too far. We need to get back to basics. Will the biggest schools do that? I don't know. A lot of people making a lot of money off of Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, LSU, etc. So I don't ever think it'll be a hard reset back to, well, let's go back to the way it was in the 70s. That won't get there. But I got to think there will be some threats, maybe even shots fired between the SEC and this alliance. And it's going to continue to develop and shape up. I think the alliance right now is, frankly, words, right? I think it's words. I don't think they have all that much put together. I think they just got together. They kind of came up with a brief overview of what they think they want to do. And then they said, and if it is required of us, then down the road, we'll get back together and come up with some more harsh stuff. And I think, honestly, that's where we leave it. I think that's where we leave it right now. Take a break. Back after this, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. We'll have some more thoughts next on ESPN Upstate.
What y'all asked for is here. One day, all day GA passes for Night in the Country Carolinas, presented by Ingles Markets. All day, one-of-a-kind festival experiences. All-night live music featuring Miranda Lambert, Old Dominion, Chris Young, and more. Get yours at any Ingles location and save $15. Your next great country picnic. 26th and 28th at Zion Resort. Details at nightinthecountry.org.
I took the voice of Bird Rebels. Get Bird.
Burns Rebels, powered by your local Ingles Market.
Hi, break time? I know you. I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening option for people 45 plus at average risk. You take care of yourself.
Ooh, I play tennis. I eat well.
Well, for colon cancer.
Not yet.
Don't wait. Colon cancer is more treatable when it's caught in early stages. Tell me more. Cologuard is non-invasive and is used at home. It detects altered DNA in your stool to find 92% of colon cancers.
92%?
Yep, even those in early stages.
This was seen in a clinical study with patients 15 and older.
Got time to grab water real quick.
Diagnostic colonoscopy. False positive and
sure.
negative results may occur. Cologuard is not a replacement for colonoscopy in high-risk patients. Do not use if you have had adenomas, have inflammatory bowel disease and certain hereditary syndromes, or personal or family history of colon cancer.
Most insured patients pay $0. Ask your provider or an online prescriber if Cologuard is right for you, or visit requestcologuard.com.
I'm on it.
Excellent.
Pro football season's here, and pro roofers save valuable time with Beacon Pro Plus. Beacon Pro Plus works 24/7 for material ordering, order history, and automated promotion tracking, so you can get your favorite GAF roofing products even when working remotely. And now, order on Beacon Pro Plus and get a $175 gift card and the chance for a VIP Pro Football getaway. Gear up and raise your game with Beacon Pro Plus today. Build, score, and win at BECN.com.
Brought to you by Capital One Shopping. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Capital One Shopping. What's in your wallet? Savings and available coupons vary.
Football is almost here. Get in on the action with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. To bring
Kingston, Moxley, and Darby Allin as a team.
Players a free shot at $1 million during week 1. If you haven't tried DraftKings yet,
preseason is the perfect time to test your strategy. It's simple. Just pick your lineup, stay under the salary cap, and see how your team stacks up against
They
the
were
competition.
together at the end of
Nothing
Rampage
has the
last week,
excitement of watching a game quite like having a free shot
if I
at huge
recall.
cash prizes. And don't forget to check out DraftKings free-to-play pools, where there's even more cash.
We have a golf cart in the next break.
Download the
Okay.
DraftKings app and use code MAX. For a limited time, new players can get a free shot at $1 million during week 1. That's code MAX to get a free shot at millions of dollars in prizes with your first deposit. Only at DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This is what you need to know. The Jaguars have officially named rookie Trevor Lawrence the top overall pick in the NFL draft. Their starting quarterback for week 1 against the Texans, as expected. Rutgers named Teddy Bridgewater their starting QB. Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow will make his preseason debut Sunday. Is expected to get a limited number of snaps as he continues to recover from last December's knee surgery. Quarterback Dwayne Haskins, competing for a roster spot with the Steelers, will start the team's final preseason game on Friday. It'll be his first start since week 16 of the 2020 season with Washington. Mason Rudolph will not play, a signal that he's locked up the number 2 QB spot. Major League Baseball revealed its postseason schedule begins with the AL wildcard game October 5th. The World Series is scheduled to start on October 26th, and Game 7 would be on November 3rd.
We're trophy hosts. Sorry.
All right, rock and rolling on the Rob Brown Show. This is ESPN Upstate, 844-GSP-ESPN. If you want to be on the phone line, 844-GSP-ESPN. Texas at 71307. Some thoughts here that I wanted to get to. If you did not hear the story that's been breaking about Cam Newton and his starting role in New England. And again, a guy I'm pulling for. I think Lonzo and I have both said that we were predicting a breakout season for Cam Newton, a bit of a return to form for the former Auburn man, if you will. A couple of clips I wanted to play, and they're not like crazy huge deals, but I find them interesting. I'll start with clip 3, if you don't mind, Lonzo. This is Mac Jones, and Mac Jones has been spending more and more time in front of the cameras there in New England. I mean, he's the backup QB, right? Backup QB, but he's been spending more time in front of the cameras in New England, and he was asked the other day about his, and I quote, swag. And here's what the young man from Alabama had to say.
So, Mac, I've heard, 3 or 4 of your new teammates say one of the things they're impressed with you a lot is your swag. So I got to ask you, how would you describe your swag?
I don't know. I guess it's just who I am. Obviously, I'm super competitive, and that's pretty much all I can say about that. I just really like to win, and the people that are around with me like to win too. So I've always tried to surround myself with good people, and there's a lot of good people here that are really competitive. So it all comes back to just winning. So that's kind of where all the swag comes from.
The swag. Now, couple of things. Number one, Zoe, you hear the way the guy asked the question? It's like, hey, Mac Jones, let me talk to you about your swag, you know? Like your swag. But here's what I love about that question and that answer. So when we say QB swag, Cam Newton's been a guy who has tried to keep himself on the top of that list, right? When we think QB swag and QB outfits, Cam Newton has taken a lot of heat over the years and a lot of hate over the years because my dude's got his own swag. I find it interesting that they went out of their way to ask Mac Jones about it. And Mac Jones went out of his way to say, hey, you know, it's subdued. It's a little more chill. It's a little more relaxed. Maybe I'm being dramatic and reading into something here, Zoe, but kind of felt like I knew what he was saying about Cam there, right? Like he was trying to draw a line of distinction between himself and QB1.
See, all I heard was that he surrounded himself with winners and he liked to hang out with people who like to win. That's what I heard.
Swag. Clip number 2. The hoodie. Bill Belichick himself. Clip 3A. 3A. Sorry. Clip 3A is hoodie being asked about starters and what starters are, what starters need to be in order to keep their position as the starter up there with the Patriots.
It's really the same for every player. The players that have played those positions in the past for us, call them starters, if you will, have to, re-earn that every year. And they know it and everybody else knows it. And the players who are competing for roster spots and ultimately play time, there's nothing that says that they can't do that. So it's just, a question of performance. We all have to reestablish every year our level of performance and our competency. And, the guys who have been there, somebody has to show that they're better than them, or that player has to be unavailable. All right. And that's the way it is at every position. It's not unique to any position. That's the way it is across the board. So that's you get players, that have an opportunity to gain playing time, regardless of who else is on the roster or what else is on the roster, by their performance. And that's the only way I know to do it. So that's the way I'm going to do it.
Hoodie. I tell you. So Cam made there was, let me not say Cam did. There was a mistake in the last couple of days worth of Patriots COVID testing where Cam Newton left the New England facility and left the area in order to go get a test at a place that he understood to be approved by the New England Patriots, but it was out of the region, which means that he has to be in quarantine for 5 days, which takes him up through this weekend's final preseason game, means that Mac Jones is going to get the start and be the number 1 QB. And a lot of people feel like this may just be the way that Hoodie makes the move to Mac Jones because everybody wants Mac Jones in New England. Not quite ready to go that far. I honestly think there's going to be a lot of disappointment in Cam Newton for not being vaccinated. I think there's going to be a lot of disappointment in Cam Newton, considering Cam Newton blames his average pedestrian performance as a QB last year on COVID, right? He blamed it on COVID. He blamed it on the brain fog. He blamed it on not recovering from COVID. That's where and then he got it. Well, he didn't get it again, but he didn't get the vaccination, which would have taken him out of protocols, meaning he wouldn't have had to go to get the test, meaning he could have practiced, meaning he could have been the starter and kept doing whatever he needed to do to earn his start this weekend and in week 1. I don't know about any and all of that. Here's what I know, Zoe. Bill Belichick's going to play the quarterback that gives him the best chance to win the game in week 1. Cam Newton will be back. He will have practiced a full week plus by that point. And if Bill Belichick believes that Cam Newton is the guy that is there to be the number 1 to win the game for him, then Cam Newton will play in week 1. Do I think he should have got the jab? Sure. Is it irrelevant? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if he's better than Mac Jones for the Patriots in week 1, Cam will be under center.
This is their final preseason game, right?
Correct.
He wasn't playing anyway.
You might not be wrong.
Cam wasn't playing anyway.
Might not be wrong.
So he's really not. I mean, yeah, he's missing practice, but he wasn't going to play in this game. I think that's why it's not that big of a deal. If I believed that they were still trying to figure it out, then it would be a big deal. But I don't. I think we saw enough from Cam that he's ready to go, and he has the experience, and he has the talent to be the starter. And I think he's a starter. And I think that's why it's not that big of a deal.
All right, quick break. When we come back here in just a moment from right now, we play Twitter trending topics. Lonzo tells me what's trending on Twitter. We give you 30 seconds to a minute of what we know about it. That's next on The Rob Brown Show. It's ESPN Upstate.
Golf cart.
$2021 Upstate Golf Card is on sale for you now. You get the card. You are going to get 9 rounds of golf at 9 beautiful courses all around the upstate. And you're getting it all for $99, ladies and gentlemen. That is less than $15 a round. It's less than $1 a hole. You're not going to find a better deal anywhere. And if you buy multiple, you're going to get to take your friends. You're going to get to take your family. You're going to get to take whoever out to play a round of golf. They are going to think that you went out of your way to do this incredibly nice and expensive thing for them. And they're never going to know that it costs less than $15. It's just that simple. Go to upstategolfcard.com. That's upstategolfcard.com and get yours today. This is the 2021 Upstate Golf Card.
Meteorologist Jennifer Buczynski on ESPN Upstate. Currently, it's 95.
ESPN Upstate, your exclusive home for Major League Baseball. Play-by-play of the biggest games from Major League Baseball's best. Including the playoffs and the World Series. Live all day tonight, and you can't kiss it goodbye. This is ESPN Upstate.
Game on.
According to research, 82% of people remember radio ads. That means that 82% of you listening right now will remember that this is an ad for ZipRecruiter. If you're hiring, 82% of you will recall that ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And 82% of you will note that you can try ZipRecruiter for free today. But you have to go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio, like where this ad plays. 82% of you will keep in mind that ZipRecruiter's technology finds qualified people for your job and actively invites them to apply. 82% of you will also know that I live with my mom. But the most important thing to note is that ZipRecruiter works. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Will you be part of the 82% who remember where you can try ZipRecruiter for free? It's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Again, that exclusive link is ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Yes, radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Mad World Haunted Attraction officially opens September 10th. Get ready for the year's most anticipated event. Grab your friends and get ready for more thrills, scares, and fun than ever before. Buy your tickets now at madworldattractions.com.
It's like I blinked and suddenly all my business shifted to e-commerce.
Now my business hours are whenever my customers need me.
My customers want everything now and faster than ever. It's a whole different world.
Your business is changing. The United States Postal Service is changing with it. We're bringing you fast, reliable shipping nationwide, and we're bringing it right where your customers need it. Let's discover new routes. Visit USPS.com/new routes. The United States Postal Service. Priority you.
You're always up for some fun with the family, so you order the essentials: a new board game, some baking supplies, and even a new projector for outdoor movie night. And with the Bank of America customized cash rewards credit card, you can choose to earn 3% cash back on online shopping, which could increase to up to 5.25% as a preferred rewards member. Rewards which you can put toward an extra treat that everyone will enjoy, like an old-fashioned popcorn machine. Visit bankofamerica.com/more rewarding and apply now. Copyright 2021 Bank of America Corporation.
People are flipping out over the new Samsung phone, and the hype is deserved. The Galaxy Z Fold 3 5G unfolds into a tablet, and the Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G fits in the palm of your hand. Show off with 2 screens in one. Snap selfies hands-free. Step into the spotlight wherever you go. Pre-order Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 3 5G or Z Flip 3 5G today and get up to $200 in Samsung.com credit. Are you ready? Developed through 826 while supplies last at select retailers. See additional terms and conditions at Samsung.com.
Sure, the players bring some skill to the game, but if I don't put them in my lineup, who cares? Not me. I'm Eric Rubino, fantasy baseball GM and league runner-up through the last 9 years. I use the Progressive Name Your Price tool with options based on my budget. And for a guy that's used to being in control, it fits. Like this runner-up t-shirt. Champ gets a trophy, but you can't wear a trophy. Boom.
Get options based on your budget with Progressive, even if you're not a legend in your own mind.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's. Wendy's spicy chicken nuggets are the only verified spicy chicken nuggets in the game. What's that mean? It means that when you want undeniably delicious spicy nuggets, you want Wendy's, because nothing else compares. Get your Wendy's spicy chicken nuggets now at participating U.S. Wendy's.
All right, time for Twitter trending topics, where I tell Rob what is trending on the internet. The first thing that's trending is Tony Hawk.
So Tony Hawk, who has become kind of an internet celebrity by the way, we started Twitter trending topics on time today, Lonzo. Weird, right? Tony Hawk's kind of become an internet celebrity of sorts over the past year or so. Anytime people recognize him, he's a super great dude from what I understand. Like, he takes time and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Tony Hawk got together with a skateboard company, and they are selling skateboards that the paint has Tony Hawk's blood mixed into it. So he drops a couple of drops of his blood into the paint that goes on to the finish of these boards. So you can actually own a skateboard that has Tony Hawk's blood mixed into the paint. It kind of harkens back to the late 70s. There was a comic book run where the band Kiss put some of their blood into the red paint that went into the illustration of these comic books. So if you got these comic books that were Kiss's superheroes, Kiss's blood was actually in the ink that went into the comic books itself. Just a way to get some shock value out there, Lonzo.
I'm trying to figure out what the appeal to that is.
I just told you, shock value, right? It is for some people. It is, and I will tell you, you know what this is? This is trolling, Lonzo. This is trolling, because they want people to think, oh, these kids are into like the weird demonic Satanist stuff, and they're not. It's trolling because there are people who are going to be aghast and shocked by this, and for some people, it is fun to get that reaction out of other people. It's trolling. Nobody has ever thought, I have Tony Hawk's blood, I will create. Like, no, it's not that. It's just a matter of they get to watch Lonzo go, ugh, and shake his head.
By the way,
trolling.
I wasn't going the evil, nefarious kind of way. I was just thinking,
It's weird.
It's like, bro, you see my board? The board? It's got Hawk's blood in
Yeah,
it.
that's it.
Dude.
It's just trolling. It's being weird for the sake of getting attention.
Board, though.
I mean, I probably would write it unless I got him to autograph. I'd rather have the autograph than his blood in the ink.
Yeah, because if
know?
you scuff it a few times, you may have lost the blood, and you're not going to know that. And since Rob's so into this, the next time we are live somewhere, he's going to sign autographs in blood.
All right, that's not what I said, but okay. But okie dokie.
All right, the next thing that is trending is Matt Stafford.
So Matt Stafford, there's a full-length ESPN piece that's gone up about Matt Stafford and how he ended up. And people are, especially Carolina fans, are really taking offense to this, because in the piece, it was asked about how he ended up where he ended up. And in the piece, Seth Wickersham of ESPN mentioned that the Panthers and the Lions had been working out a trade. The Panthers were actually considered the front runner for Matt Stafford, but the Panthers got told that Stafford did not want to come to Carolina. And they asked him why not. And he basically said at this stage in his career and where Carolina currently is as a franchise, he did not want to be a Carolina Panther. He wanted to put it off. And Panthers fans are really, really upset about this, Lonzo, and they really shouldn't be. They really shouldn't be. Matt Stafford is at the end of his career. He's got a few years left. He is dangerously close to joining Dan Marino on the best that ever did it to never get a ring list, according to a lot of us, myself included. So it makes entirely no surprise to me that he rejected a trade to the Panthers in order to go to a franchise that is further along in their progression towards being a playoff team.
Speaking of that, the next thing is trending is Sony Michel.
Sony Michel trending because earlier today, he was traded away from the New England Patriots to join Matt Stafford in the LA Rams. He is now a Ram. The Rams have had a absolute cluster as far as injuries go in their running backfield this year. So they ended up making the push to go get Sony Michel, who was the newest member of the LA Rams, and probably, honestly, fits in pretty good with McVay's offense. And when they end up getting their starter back from injury, Cam Akers, the former FSU man, the two of them might be a pretty solid backfield overall, though.
All right. And probably the last thing trending is Captain Marvel.
Is that today's What If episode? Do we know?
No,
I
it's,
haven't looked.
it's not. What this is one of those things where people throw something up and it's trending because what is the worst Marvel movie? And Captain Marvel is trending as
It is
the
not.
worst Marvel movie.
I don't think it's the worst.
It is for me.
I don't think, is it really?
Yeah.
Why is
Yeah.
it the worst?
They overpowered her, and you take Samuel L. Jackson out of that movie, it's not that good of a movie.
She's definitely OP. I don't disagree with you. But they had to make her OP in that movie to have her do what she did in Endgame, which I think the plan was already in place for it. I definitely agree she's OP. And what makes it interesting is you kind of have to separate her from the rest of the Marvel superheroes in the next couple of movies because of that exact reason, right? Because you either got to scale the enemies up to her to make it intriguing conflict, or you got to scale her down to the rest of the superheroes. I don't think it's the worst one, but then you're going to ask me what is, and I don't have the answer to that. We may have to have this conversation tomorrow, Alonzo. Now that you're done giving me something to actually work on. Damn it. Mark Ryan and Diesel are up next with Offsides for Lonzo, the dystopian nightmare, spelled with a K. I am Rob Brown. It's the Rob Brown Show on ESPN Upstate. Later. Thor in the Dark World. That's the one. Thor in the Dark World's the worst one. See you tomorrow.
Worse than Ultron?
I love Ultron. I don't care what anybody says. Ultron was a good movie.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. At this hour, it's official. As
Yes,
anticipated,
yes, you
Jaguars
was.
coach Urban Meyer
Yes, I
announced
was.
Trevor Lawrence
Because you do